Hello, 2nd of the 12th, 2023, and I just watched this. It doesn't have light here. I bought this a few weeks ago, Friday the 13th collection on Blu-ray. It's got all 8 movies. It's not too much better. Okay, so let me bring up a few details. Steve Cunningham directed the first one. I've got good things to say about Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th was released on 12th of June 1980. That's when it was released in Australia. I could assume it was released in America around the same time. Director Sean Cunningham on a budget of $550,000. Well, actually it says $700,000 here as well. Has taken in $59.8 million at the box office over the years. And so my history with Friday the 13th is limited in the sense that I did sort of grow up with the movies. I kind of grew up with them in a sense. I saw them on TV in the 80s, and then I think I hired them out a couple of times on VHS during the 90s. Every time a new Friday the 13th was released, I'd watch it. And I hadn't seen any of them. I actually had bought Jason X on DVD in somewhere in the very early zeros or late 90s. I think I'd seen Jason Takes Manhattan at least once. I hadn't watched him in about a decade. I haven't seen any of these in 15 years, and I vaguely remembered the first movie. In fact, I just got finished watching part 2. I put part 2 on before. Just got finished watching it literally 5 minutes ago. So last night I watched part 1, 1980. I had neutral expectations. I bought the collection because I thought it would be fun to revisit the series, which I hadn't seen for a very long time. Really good to see it on Blu-ray, and I was ready to say it wasn't that great. I was ready to say that. Now, what stood out to me? I thought that the photography was fantastic, really well done. The photography of the movie was a character unto itself, and of course Kevin Bacon is in there, and the rest of the cast were and are unknowns to me. However, I will say that the acting was good and the cast did well. They were interesting characters. You've got Walt Gorney, who plays Crazy Ralph, and Pamela Voorhees, Betsy Palmer, Adriana King, Robbie Morgan, Laurie Bartram, Gianna Taylor, Harry Crosby, and who plays Jason in this. Well, let's get to see who plays Jason in this. Ari Let. Here we are. Look, just here. All the players in this did really well. I was so impressed by the photography. I thought the photography was... Where are we? Cast. I thought... one moment, please. I thought the photography was done extremely well. The shots were... and the lighting. What I noticed most was the photography and the lighting. Very well done. It had this sense of... it was a bit unnerving. darkish in a sense of sort of creepy, and otherworldly in the sense of it had an unsettling, a bit of an unsettling atmosphere about it. But the interactions in the movie between the characters, so you'd say the relationships between the characters. Spoiler alert, I didn't enjoy the snake being chopped up. Oh look, it's 1980. It's a horror film. I can let that go. But everything about Friday the 13th was very well done. I enjoyed it for what it was, and I love what the photography was. Oh, it was a bit funny because rain doesn't turn up very well on film, so you have to have a rain machine, a water machine, and you could tell it was a machine because when the water was coming down on the car at the end, and it was uneven, and I was like, oh, they had to bring the rain machine in, and it was a little bit funny because it was a bit uneven, and I think maybe they thought we're not doing a take two on this. Slightly comical from my point of view. I'd only seen it twice, I think, during my childhood years, my teenage years. Maybe I'd seen it 3 times all up. And I remember the conclusion, where the girl is Adriana King, where Adriana King is in the canoe, and then Jason comes up. I think because we got to that scene, and I thought, does Jason come up out of the water with this? And yes, he does. It's good that you see Jason. Like, I mean, they didn't know at that point that they were making a franchise, or maybe they had, with that story, already thought ahead, and they thought, well, let's make it part. Maybe they had already. My history of Friday the 13th movies, I don't entirely know the background, like what went into making it, but I'm just concluding. I'm surmising now that while they were making one, they probably wrote part 2. In fact, they probably had it as a 2-piece, and so they probably did these movies back to back. Because I just finished watching part 2 tonight. Part 2, which I was keen to see it. Really good. Once again, the cinematography, really good. The cinematography was amazing, actually. Loved it. And the lighting. And sometimes I can get annoyed with these movies, like with some of the acting of preppy, almost sort of preppy kids in the 1980s. It didn't annoy me. Maybe because it's on Blu-ray. Things can tend to look really good on Blu-ray, and it was fantastic on Blu-ray. I was even prepared for them to be some bad acting. Typical 80s acting, well done. Good story. I thought it was. I know it's a Friday the 13th movie. You should expect and accept the elements that go along with a Friday the 13th movie. It's a Friday the 13th movie. It's Friday the 13th. Given that, it was really good. In fact, I'd say it was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. And at the end of part 2, I had, when we're getting toward the conclusion, I thought, is this, I'll just type in part 2. I thought, is this where, part 2, 1981. And I thought, is this where Amy Steele, right? I thought, is this, and Warrington Gillette plays Jason Voorhees. And I thought, okay, is this where Amy, she goes into the woods, and he pretends to be Jason's mother. And yes, I remember that part. Great movie. I actually thought it was well done. I was surprised at how good the photography was and the direction. I'd only seen this maybe 3 times before, if that, and I hadn't seen it in 20 years, maybe 25 years. Or I had not very much visited the Friday the 13th series. Yeah, I was just thinking about Halloween and the Halloween movies. I haven't seen them properly in a while, but I digress. This was made in 1981 and it was directed by Steve Miner. Budget of $1.25 million US. Distributed by Paramount Pictures. Well done. I would have liked to have seen a few more flesh, a few more boobies, but look, I hope the storyline to this. I hope the storyline. I do want a good depth of storyline in my horror movies, and you get it in this. It's well set up. In part 1 and 2. I think I may have enjoyed part 2 a little more than part 1, but I thought they were both very good. And I'm eager to see part 3 now. Geez, I might even watch part 3. I've got some things to do here on YouTube, but and I wanted to, I was going to listen to another Black Sabbath album, but I'm tempted to watch part 3 tonight, depending. What is it? It's the 2nd to the 12th. It's 1:02 a.m. Okay. Friday the 13th, 1980, and Friday the 13th, Part 2, 1981. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed my revisit. Really, really well done. Things do tend to look good on Blu-ray. Okay, thanks for what Midnight Charlie Man, Patrick, thanks for watching. Adding this in, very important point, very important note. It's really good that we get to see Jason's face. I wasn't too sure if they were going to show that. I was like, please show his face, please show his face. And then, but we do see it in part 2, and at the very end you see it. And I'm thinking, could they have not kept it like that could they have not kept it like that? I thought the bag over the head, that was an interesting touch. I thought that was cool. I'm thinking, I know that the hockey mask is iconic to Jason, but I thought that the bag's great. To see his face would have been interesting to just keep seeing his, like, in part 3, I don't know what takes place yet. I don't know when he adopts the hockey mask, but it's good to see his face. It's good that he didn't see his face throughout most of part 2. It's great that he didn't see his face. I liked that aspect, and only at the end that you see it, he was revealed. I enjoyed the mystery of that. Yep. Okay. Hey, since while I've got the camera rolling, actually I'm just putting this together. Oh, I should have that light on, shouldn't I? Should be okay. The sheriff, when the sheriff is running through the woods, where the sheriff stops his car and he's running through the woods, I'm thinking, how much energy do you have? Did he have? How much energy? I don't know, he was, 60, 65, and he went for quite a run. And I don't know how, when they're actually filming it, I don't know how far he ran, but you get given the impression we are given the impression, I was given the impression while watching it, the sheriff, that guy, went for quite a distance through the woods, and I'm like, at some point, I think he's going to get tired. Also, another thing with the photography is that I think they were quite clever with it, and I also think they borrowed a couple of moments from Texas Chainsaw, the original, and I think they took a couple of things from Evil Dead. I'm not too sure which one came out first, but there's a couple of little similarities here and there. But what it did feel like some of the time, and I thought this was done well, was it felt like Jason was standing nearby these characters. It felt like Jason was standing right nearby these characters. Sometimes like they were being watched. And some of that time Jason was nearby. But I thought that was done well, and that part was done well. Yes, okay, all right.